Okay, Suzanne, we are recording this interview on Friday the 14th and it will be broadcast on Tony's programme on Sunday. On Wednesday just gone, Suzanne, yourselves and Social Justice Ireland held a major conference on a very big issue in Ireland, and it is an issue that is going to grow even more going into the future. That is the issue of care, and your conference was called Care in a Changing World. Before or leading us up to talking more about a couple of angles to the conference, can you give our listeners today a summary, Suzanne, of why you organised the conference, who spoke at it, and a bit of a summary of what was discussed at it, please?
Will do. There's quite a lot in that. So I think you're right when you said that this is a growing issue. So care was a big, big, big part of the national conversation last year. And I had it in the back of my mind, but we had already decided on our topic for our conference last year. So I sort of said it's probably no harm maybe just to sit on it a while and let us really, really, really think about what we mean by care. Are we talking about, the cared for or the people who are caring for? And we were trying to really sort of say, well, try and bring in as much as we possibly could. But it is a really, really important conversation in Ireland at the moment around the concept of care. So that was kind of the impetus for this year's conference. And we had a really interesting range of speakers. What I liked was how they all sort of wove it all through together. So our first one was from Conor Crowley from the CSO. Brilliant. And what he was showing us was what Ireland is likely to look like in 20 years, in 30 years, in 40 years. How many people are going to be here? Who are they? Where do they live? And our population is going to grow. We are an outlier in Europe in the sense that our population is still less than it was 200 years ago, but that is going to change. And for you and me and all the listeners, the brilliant piece of news is that we are all going to be old. We are all going to live much, much longer than we used to, but that has impact for a conversation around care. And we also have 1/5 of the population, 1 in every 5, like 1 million people answered the CSO census the last time as living with a disability or an impairment of some level. And again, that's really, really key when we're looking at the care and how we care. So we had Conor from the CSO. I did a piece then on the interweaving between poverty and inequality in care work. We had a speaker, Mariana from Eurofound, looking at undeclared care work. I suppose the cash in hand type of thing, really, really, again, a really gendered piece. We had Jacek from the OECD looking at how care is provided across Europe and where Ireland fits in that. We had Sarah Donnelly from UCD looking at care or harm and how to protect the people who care for friends and family, within the kind of informal structures. And then we had a fantastic panel discussion really bringing to the fore the lived realities. So we had Adam Harris from As I Am, which is an autism charity. We had Elaine Teague, who heads up the Disability Federation of Ireland. We had Claire Duffy from Family Carers Ireland, and we had Trish Keelty from the Ombudsman for Children. So a really nice round table of lots of different perspectives on care.
And just so I know, Suzanne, this yet on Wednesday was your annual conference. So this is your main kind of topic conference for the year, is it?
Yes. So we would have a couple of big key pieces throughout our year. We have a couple of big publications that we do at different times of the year. The budget is a big piece of our work, but this would be our annual social policy conference. And we would pick a topic and just really try and hone in on policy outcomes. So our key thing is there's a thing we want to talk about. How can we move the dial? How can we actually make this situation better? So we do really focus on what the next steps are. So the panel were brilliant on that, what they would like to see in their organisations for care going forward in the future. But yeah, this is our big annual set piece every year.
Okay. I saw on social media on Wednesday, Suzanne, that the organisation or group Access for All Ireland, I haven't interviewed them to date now, but they are, a quote, a non-profit disability activists. They are outraged with the situation carers find themselves in Ireland at the moment, and they say the situation is going to, even because of the last budget, get a lot worse. Can you tell me why this is, Suzanne?
Well, one of the interesting facts that, and again, I suppose it doesn't, these sort of things don't really come as a surprise, but sometimes it's good to have them highlighted, is the intersections of people with disabilities who provide care, people who are old who provide care. So, this piece about the distance between those who care and those who cared for, is disappearing. And again, what we're seeing is in a country where more and more and more of us will live to be old and will live to be old, and more of us will live then with a disability, and a lot of those disabilities and impairments will come with age. So what you're seeing is people in their 60s and 70s maybe caring for an adult child who can't maybe live independently or semi-independently, or a disability. You've got older people who are also because people are living long. You've got people in their 60s and 70s caring for people in their 80s and 90s, looking after sort of older relatives. So I think that was a real key piece. And what we're seeing, I suppose, is care. It's presumed that we will look after each other because we love each other. We love our families. We love our friends. So therefore we want to care for for the people that we love. That is hard work. If you have somebody in your household who may require 24/7, it's actually physically impossible to provide care 24/7. So sometimes those households don't get the external support that they need. If you have to give up your job in order to care for somebody, you are now on a reduced income. So therefore you're looking at that kind of poverty conversation. What we saw in the last budget was that anybody who's reliant on a social welfare income isn't going to get maybe the supports that they need to keep in line with, again, everybody listening to this knows they're going around the supermarket, the price of everything has gone up, their gas bill has gone up, their ESB bill has gone up. So I think that's kind of where they were looking at that from, is that by virtue of caring for somebody, you can be put outside of the labour market, and you can, as a result of that, end up being reliant maybe on a welfare, but that is going to put you into poverty. It's going to put you in a difficult situation, and I suppose it's hard work. Caring for people is hard work.
And I learned something from one of the social media posts on Wednesday about the conferences. One of the speakers said that people with disabilities don't want care, they want support, and I found that to be a very profound and, I imagine, true point. Suzanne, as well as supporting people, the carers, with more financial support so they can afford to have a decent quality of life living, are there any other kind of major or significant recommendations that you think came out of the conference on Wednesday?
We did talk a lot about the cost of disability, and that still needs to be addressed, that if you are living with a disability, you are incurring extra costs because of that disability, and that really it's very, very difficult for those households to swallow and cover those costs. And that really goes, because that was Elaine Teague's point about support, that support should be a right. I mean, care is love. It's love labour. And we were very clear about that as well when you're talking about kind of, paid care and unpaid care. And sometimes paid care can just be about buying somebody's time. So somebody comes in and does something for you in your house. Is that fully care or is that support? And that it's easier maybe to provide the support that somebody would need, that you could put in place a right to support, and that with those supports then that you can go about your business. There's a lot of conversation with personalised budgets, so that anybody living with a disability or an impairment is actually given money directly themselves to be able to decide how they want to spend on their PA hours, or how they feel that their support needs could be best met on, very autonomous, very individual. a lot of it does come down to income, and a lot of it does come down then to the services that are available to households. So I suppose ultimately, no matter what way we come at it, money will have to be spent, but it's an investment, not a cost.